Guys, how absolutely beautiful are the flowers on these beans. I was looking back today and I noticed that I have a video of me planting these about a month ago, and just a few days later they started to sprout, and I have a video of that kind of showing them growing and sprouting. So it's been about 32 days or so, just over 30 days since I planted these, and they're all flowering, and I'm really thrilled about that. I didn't think they would make it. They just started randomly dying, and I realized that an animal was coming into our yard urinating all over the plants, and it was just decimating them. So I'm pretty excited that we're still going to get something, because originally I'd planted over 300 seeds, so for so many to just kind of be destroyed, it was really heartbreaking, kind of disappointing, especially since I used a lot of these videos to teach my children and to kind of show other kids that are homeschooled and public school as well, just kind of how we grow and what different things look like. It's a great reference for us, and I really enjoy showing other people what I wish I could have learned and the information that was really hard for me to gather. So at least there's a nice takeaway from all of the sad parts of the plants dying. And here where the brown spots are, you can just see the damage. That's just kind of from being urinated on by large animals. And yeah, it's not cool. So make sure, if you are one of those people that like to use urine composted into your garden, that it's actually composted, because just letting your animals come over and use it on your plants is not good, and unfortunately it wasn't even our animals. So just something to kind of think about if you really need fencing or anything else, and the damage that it could possibly be done to your plants. But overall, I mean,
what exactly are these over here with the pink bud on them?
Pink buds?
This right here. It's got like a...
Oh, that's a bean plant. These are all bean plants. My little brother's over here hanging out with me today.
I got to weld.
Yeah, he got to weld. He's pretty excited to get to weld with my husband.
I'm guessing you have the zucchinis out somewhere, or you haven't got to plant zucchinis yet?
Oh no, I will. I'll show you. I actually harvested some and made a video about that not too long ago. I'm gonna zoom out some, because right now I have it zoomed in.
Boop. You were showing in the small details.
Yeah.
I believe it's the different plant cells and the way that their urine is bodily waste. That's why it's not good for the plants, because the plants, they weren't on fresh water. So if you put salt water in there, it'll work the same as urine, right?
Well, yeah, and the thing is that basically urine from like humans, dogs, cats, things like that and feces is considered hot, and it literally will just eat the plants. Whereas like things like rabbit poop is actually kind of, yeah, and it's considered a cool manure.
It's because and manure is the same thing as grass. It's just coming out in a different form pretty much, so it's just dead grass at that point.
Well, it's not just that, it's like all the toxins from your body
are released in there to keep your body healthy.
Exactly. It's gross. So, but like rabbit manure you can throw directly on your garden, but I've had issues before where, like, if I get too much of like the urine from the rabbits mixed in with the hay,
it bad.
Yeah, it will. Exactly. It'll still burn it, but the manure does wonders. So here's some more of the bean plants.
I can see right here where some of those animals, like that you were saying about a minute ago, some of the animals, if you look on the mulch spots, you can see like prints every now and then.
Yeah, you can.
Also over there was a dig spot that I remember last time I was here. There was a spot over there where they were digging too.
Yeah, it was kind of
upsetting.
It was, but I mean, look how good they're doing now. They're starting to kind of come back.
I mean, the first time I came over, all this mulch was like really, really light, and like it was like very odd to look at because it looked out of place. And not to mention, you couldn't really see anything other than just like the little bitty bumps where the seeds were starting to grow. And now that I'm over here now, they're all growing and it's looking amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, we have some. I think these right here are the wet red swan beans. And they actually, when they finish growing, like they start off looking like a green bean, but then the pods, when they ripen, turn like a really deep, pretty reddish pink color. And then I also have Thai soldier long beans, which are like a really long bean, more like for frying.
It's from
They
like
get,
Thailand.
I don't know. But
Why'd
they
give
get,
it a-
I'll have to look it up.
Why'd they give it the word Thai then?
I don't. It possibly is. That's quite possible. They are an Asian variety. I do know that. I just don't know exactly the origin or how it came about. But that is something we should probably look up and give some more information on. Now I'm curious myself. But they're really long, like 12 to 18 inches. But instead of boiling like green beans, you fry them up in stir fries.
Like okra?
Yeah, kind of.
I
But
like
more
fried
like
okra.
an Asian dish.
I like fried okra.
Yeah, and these are pretty. They're like really striped, kind of like the rattlesnake snap beans. I don't know if you remember those because it's been
Oh, yeah,
so
the
long.
older ones you had over there whenever you first started.
Yeah, so they've been so hard since the pandemic to source them out. Everyone's been sold out. And so I'm afraid to plant the beans that I do have because they are my favorite bean. And I just want to make sure that I'm
I would make like a different pot for it and get some better soil and like and keep it away from the animals outside.
right. I want to wait till I get the yard fenced in that garden area and make sure it's definitely safe.
Yeah, because right now we're kind of in your front yard, and not to mention there are coyotes that come out here. So
Right? It's crazy to be in the middle of the city but still have so many animals you think of.
Last night I was on my phone talking to a friend, and I came out here and there's a coyote back there along the tree line. I was like, yeah, I'm going back.
We've
inside.
also had like full grown bucks and small
Yeah,
doe.
because like right back there, past like the end of our your neighborhood, there's like a forest area,
Right.
And it's not gated to keep it from coming into
Well,
the neighborhood.
and the crazy thing is that we're still in the city, so we can't just like, oh, there's a deer in my backyard, or oh, there's a coyote. We can trap it, or we can, shoot it, or rehome it. I mean, have so many regulations
Yeah, you
in the
gotta have
city.
if I'm not mistaken, in the state of Texas, you gotta have a certificate to own a wildlife animal.
Oh yeah, my father had a trapper's license growing up, so when I was growing up, and that allowed him to trap a lot of things, but even though he was an avid hunter, he was a big conservationist, and I think that's where I get a lot of
Your
my
planting
passion.
skills from.
Yeah, yeah. He
I'm
was
not very
raised
good
in
with
the
this. I've
country.
never really had any patience for it.
I think it's something you can learn. Look at these over here.
I mean, I know quite a bit about it. I know enough to keep myself, if I wanted to, I can work on my own and do my own thing, yes.
Yeah,
But I've just never really had enough patience to do it without reasoning.
that makes sense. I love it. So it's kind of like, this is my kind of like decompress time, if that makes sense.
Kind of like an antidepressant.
Yeah, yeah. Did you know there's actually compounds in the soil that are, I forget what it's called, but that act as antidepressants? That's that earthy smell that you smell when it rains.
I think it's like the aroma.
Yeah, and
That's
so
why I like sitting in the rain, but I like sitting under like in the car or something with like a window cracked, because I got the little rain covers on it, on the Mustang especially, because you could sit in the
Yeah.
rain and it doesn't get in, but you could like still smell it. It's kind of calming.
that makes sense. That's really relaxing.
I got a southern thing that not many people can. I can smell when rain's coming.
Right, it's funny. That's awesome. Okay, so let me show everyone. You can kind of see the buds on the beans. Those are
This
new
one right here is
leaves
very
and
pronounced
flowers.
right here, especially the stem right here.
Yeah, it
And
is.
the bud's really
That's
pronounced.
so pretty. Well, some of the flowers, like over here. Oh, there it is. They're white. So the flower I'm showing right now on the screen is actually a white flower, and you'll have to look
These
for
right
it.
here?
Yeah, and then, well, there's one behind it. The bean behind it
Oh, yeah, I
is
see it.
actually has a white blossom. So I know that's a different type of bean, and the other beans have really pink blossoms, which are really pretty. And I kind of mix the beans together, so I'm trying to figure out. Oh, there it is. Like that was one of the red swan beans, I believe.
Yeah, you see, it's been sun bleached a little bit, and it's had something step on it, because that's like a toe print right there.
Well,
like a
that
small-
comes off. That actually is just the cover for the
it's a
seed.
shedding.
Yeah, and it basically, the seed pops up right out of the middle of it and then creates this plant. And then once
Compost.
the seed leaves finish forming, the cover of the seed just peels right off.
You know the one thing I really want to get?
What?
Oh, ball python.
Oh, no thank
I
you.
want to get... Ooh, your grippers.
I'm not a snake person.
I like snakes, because if you think about it, if we didn't have snakes, our ecosystem would be overran with little bitty rodents too.
This is true, but they're still terrifying to me.
No.
So, whenever I was little, before my brother over here was born, my sister actually, we were out. We
Road
kind of,
racer.
Yeah, we lived in the middle of nowhere back then, and
Oh,
so
you're that old. You gotta say back then.
back then, yeah, man, compared to now, I mean, that was over 20 years ago.
I mean, I'm only 14, man.
Yeah. So, a backstory is like my little sister and I were outside playing in our yard, and there's kind of a gully along the back, and we outside playing. She started screaming, and there was a water moccasin, and it was continuously biting her, and she was trying her best to avoid it and get away from it, and she ended up running out. Well, she ended up hospitalized. It was really scary, you
Remember
know.
what Charlie used to call water moccasins?
Don't say it.
It was funny.
That's terrible.
What is it?
A water moccasin?
So essentially what happened was, you know, she got bit several times, but my dad ended up going back there and discovering that the snakes were mating, and there were just balls and balls of snakes in the water, and my sister just unknowingly back there picking berries and stepped in an area where a mom was nesting and had a clutch of eggs. And so I'm still kind of nervous. Like, snakes are not my thing. Anything that can bite me and injure me severely or kill me, I'm a no-go on that. No budget.
Just hold a pistol on you, Adolf.
Aha, very funny.
Yeah, there's no reason to go in that area, period. I mean,
You see
as
the
long as you
mother?
don't, as long as you pay attention to where you're stepping and don't aggravate the snake, you'll be fine.
I don't know. I was up here a couple of weeks ago, and it was at night and around this triangular garden bed, and I almost stepped on a water moccasin. I was just traveling along my yard, and it was, whew.
Oh, we had
About hard.
while we were in Dallas with Aunt Angel, we were talking, me and Travis were out there working in the shed. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were working on the shed, and he had we were cleaning out his guns. And I had a 22 and a 45 sitting next to me, and I was working on the 22. I was cleaning the barrel of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked it up and put it down, and then I looked down at my feet, and there was a rat snake about 2 foot long
Whew.
just sitting at my feet. And I was like,
Oh no.
"Hey, Uncle Trav, you want to like get rid of this? I'm gonna slowly get up and act like I don't see it. You shoot it." He pulled up the little Glock and shot it, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to be in here anymore.
I hear a lot of like the only good snake is a dead snake, and I don't mind snakes as long as they don't bite me, but I am afraid that the kids will get into something that can harm them. Like, there are good snakes.
Like the duck pens back there, they have snakes in there all the time, like little grass snakes.
Yeah, especially when it rains.
Because they come out whenever the rain comes out, because it's a lot more cool, and that means that
Well, and
more animals are gonna be
Our
out.
backyard holds a lot of water, but back when we had chickens, they would actually like play tug of war with any kind of snakes that they found.
We went in the backyard one day, and we had a little rabbit that went in the backyard when we had Zoe, and Zoe was literally carrying the rabbit around and like playing with it. And Zoe came up to my hip, and I'm 6'1", so Zoe was a big dog.
Yeah, she was a big dog. Well, right here you can see, I don't know if anyone can see, hold on. Oh, there it is. It's a little green bean. It's my first green bean of this fall season. I'm ecstatic. So that's really cool. And this bean may be green now, but it's going to change colors over time. And so I'm so excited about that. And then, let's see. I have a couple more plants that are flowering over here. There you go. So that's pretty exciting in general. Look at that. So over here I have more beans, because remember I planted like 300 beans. There are so many packets of beans. And so I don't remember. These are part of the beans. I made a video about a month ago that kind of shows the different packets I used. I used over 5 packets, including the red swan beans, Thai soldier beans. There were some other bush beans that had, I think, dragon tongue beans. All bush varieties. And then I got like 4 or 5 different types of wax beans and several yellow wax beans. So I'm really hoping that we still get a good crop. I'm excited to see the beans finally forming. And so if you're wondering how long it takes your beans after you plant them, I'm in Zone 9A in Southeast Texas, and it took about 30 to 32 days for these beans to produce flowers and start producing green beans. Now, I'll do another update to show like when I start harvesting my first different type of beans and what they are and what they look like, so you can get a better idea. and how much they produce. On average, I know for the wax beans, they produce about 3 to 5 pounds per plant, and I planted 5 packs of those with a minimum of 40 seeds each. So, I mean, if 50 of those came up with 3 pounds, that's an incredible amount of food, you know? So, I know since my brother asked, I wanted to kind of show this. These are the zucchini, and I made a video about them just a couple of days ago. And so they're already ready to pick in just that short period of time. There are 2 more to pick, and my 7-year-old just picked the other one. So they produce so well, and there is actually another flower right, yeah, they already see to pick. Right down here.
That flower's almost still open.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That flower is about to, if the leaves can get out of the way. This flower right here on that little squash is about to open. This is another female flower, and you can kind of see it's turning yellow. And then this is the male flowers, and they're also about to open. So when those open, I'll hand pollinate those just like I did the other ones. Okay, buddy. And that will allow... So it's pretty exciting because just from this one plant so far, we'll have 3 squash plus more producing, and we're well into October, so that's pretty exciting. I have never had success with squash before, so now that we've grown this one, I've seen how well they do in fall, especially this type that doesn't have the spines on it. I'll continue to grow them. Now I'm going to take you over to where I have the wax beans and show you the flowers on those. But since my brother brought up the zucchini, I kind of wanted to show it off a little bit. My brother's only 14, and he is back there, and my husband is teaching them how to use the welding machine and the grinder, and they're working on that barbecue pit together. It's so funny, and I had recorded a little bit of them welding, but unfortunately that was on my other phone, and I wasn't able to recover anything. I hadn't saved it up into my cloud whenever my phone got broken. So I'm really sad to kind of miss that footage. But so here's the area where, if you've been following me for any length of time, you know I'm obsessed with. My 7-year-old begged me to buy blackberries. That was the one thing he requested. And so we've pretty much become obsessed with the blackberries. Because they've been so great. And so, but we use the space underneath it to grow, and right now I have all kinds of lettuce mix, turnips, beets, and these beans, which are not doing lovely. And so, but some of them are doing rather well. And I think I just need to water these a little more than I have been. But look at all of those flowers. These are the yellow golden wax beans. And I mean, that is a lot of flowers already. You know, they just started blooming, and they just all at once, just tons of them. So all of the other ones are starting to show some signs of the little flower nodules showing up. And I'm really confident that we're going to get a lot of beans. These are heavy producers. It's my first year ever growing these golden wax beans here, where all the nodules are coming up right there in the leaves. So I'm really, I just can't believe how well they're doing as far as that, and how many flowers come up all at once. So I'm really hoping that all these plants continue to take off, and they do very well. And if it was a little earlier in the season, I would plant more, but it's just not. And so I'm unable to do that. And here are some more all right here too. So that's a pretty substantial amount of plants. And then here, look at this growing. Our winter plants are starting to kind of take off and come up. So you can see how over here all of the baby greens are just popping up. And I even have our first ever lettuce plant for this season, for this fall season. So we grew a lot of lettuce last year. So here's that. And look, here's a beet. You can tell by the pretty red. That's a bull's blood beet. And here is some Swiss chard popping up. Okay, so here we are. Over here are some more of these wax beans. Some are doing well and some are, sad. But we did get a pretty, it went from being in the high 80s to in the low 60s, and our low hit for 58. And so it's supposed to get down into the 50s again tonight. And I just don't have the protection to protect these. So I'm hoping that even though there's some damage done, it's not as much damage as it could be. Because I'd really just, it'd be sad to lose all of these warm season plants. And then in a couple days, the weather just instantly warms up again, which is what happens quite often here during the fall months. So we don't get a whole lot of cold weather. And when we do, we're usually not prepared for it. That's about to change because we have been working towards the goal of getting some hoops to put over this for protection, and eventually we actually want to get a small high tunnel for the backyard. Like their Bootstrap Farmer sells, I think it's Bootstrap Farmer sells a kind of like a hoop house style tunnel that is 10 foot wide and 40 foot long, and that would be perfect for the space we have next to the duck coop. And so with us not even being on 3/4 of an acre, it's really important for us to be efficient, but also have beauty, because it's just nice to think of a garden as also kind of an art project. So that should kind of help us a lot. Now the problem is that we do live in the city, and we have to, our street is right off the main road, so we really have to be careful. We're right down the road from City Hall. Make sure that things are presentable and we follow the city ordinances, and it does make it a bit more challenging. Our house is quite a ways off the road, towards the back of the property, and there's a lot of restrictions towards what you can have in the front yard. So that's just been a huge challenge when it comes to how we garden and grow food here. My brother has noticed my composting fence and decided that there's no way that I'm going to talk him into helping me mix it up when it comes time to turn the compost. Guys, these are 4 foot deep and 4 foot wide, 4 foot long. So that is a lot of work to mix it. Compost gets heavy, believe it or not. So real last, I just want to kind of show these off. So believe it or not, the first time I ever saw somebody grow Tabasco plants, because I really want to grow them, was just on Roots and Refuge Farm. And I found her by kind of like, I don't know, I wouldn't say it was an accident, but at the time I was working in Arkansas and I wanted to move up to that area. Of course, plans changed, if you know our story. And so I started looking like homesteading in Hope, Arkansas, and I found her channel that way through YouTube. And I had always like wanted to try Tabasco peppers. I had the seeds and bought, trays to start them, but I'd never seen them grow. I had no idea what to expect. And so these I grew on my own. Hers were massive. They were like 3 feet tall and several feet wide, and just 2 or 3 plants produced a ridiculous amount of peppers. So I just got 2 of them because all I wanted to do was get enough Tabasco peppers to stuff them into a little jar and fill them up with vinegar. Kind of like if you're from Texas or southern Louisiana, you know that we love that Tabasco juice in our food. So I really like that vinegary Tabasco pepper taste. And so I grew them and I picked a ridiculous amount. They're all inside so far. But I mean, they're just laden with fruit, and they stunted a lot during the summer because we were in a drought. We didn't get rain for months and months, but I mean, they're just covered in peppers, and I'm not kidding. I put 40 off this plant earlier, and every day I've come out almost and picked at least 20 peppers, and I have 2 of them. So I have this one here and this one here. So if these actually got to full-size plants, they would be massive. And I've actually made a video on overwintering pepper plants indoors, but I'm thinking I'm just going to get a cover for this area, like a row cover, and cover these and see if I can't get them to last through the winter. Because if so, and these come back in March, they're going to flower so quickly, and I'm going to get so much fruit before the heat of the summer hits, and I would love that. That would just be amazing. Second year peppers produce so well, and I made a video. I actually made a video showing how I overwinter my pepper, and I replanted it outside. And guys, it was March of this year. It was like my second year pepper, and it was doing amazing. And then all of a sudden it dropped down below 50 in the spring, out of nowhere, we got one of those late year freezes that we rarely get in Houston, and there went my pepper plant. I was so sad. So I was really hoping to be able to show like a 3rd year pepper plant. Now in areas where you have mild winter, usually like zone 10 to zone 12, you're talking about getting some, your okra can be perennials, your pepper plants are perennials. A lot of the things that we think of annuals here actually quickly become perennials, and they just grow like crazy. I've even heard of tomato plants being perennials in some areas. I don't know how true that is, but for sure I know that okra are and pepper plants are, which is really cool. Look how woody these are down here and how thick it's getting at the very bottom. So you can see why in some places they say pepper trees, and there are definitely peppers that easily get over 3.5 feet tall here and just mass up like a bush. They're just massive in one season. The trick is to make sure you water them, which, if you know me, the one thing I'm not good at is being a faithful water or weeding. There's a giant ant bed in here, and I'm not about to weed that out. Peppers are going to have to fend for themselves. While I'm here, check out my strawberries. They kind of died back during the summer, but here it is. Cool weather is coming, and they are doing fabulous. They start producing fruit as early as January or February here, which is pretty incredible. So I know that our local strawberry farm opens from January through May, the 2nd week of May, and then they start blackberry season shortly after that. So one last thing before I go, I know this is mostly supposed to just be like a little bean video and chat, but so this is my possum purple, ooh, look at me spacing out already. Can you tell that I missed my nap today? I seriously always need a Sunday nap. This is our passion fruit, and you can see where it's starting to regrow all the places that the ducks ate it. But all of this compost actually came from an area where I had planted spinach and then decided that I didn't really like the setup. And all of the spinach is sprouting in here with all of these banana plants and the passion fruit. So I think that's really cool. I'm also going to plant some peas in here and let them grow along the fence and just make the most out of the space. And then when the peas are done, I'll cut them down and leave the roots to kind of decompose and put some nitrogen in the soil. But it's just a really great way to kind of use this high space where the ducks are and the fencing, all the low space, all the bush area for the bananas that'll eventually grow up, and all the low area where the spinach is, and kind of create a mat of spinach. The boys are so funny. They have so many things they want me to show you, and I don't want to make like a 2-hour-long video of things that people get to see every day. They're so excited, especially my brother. It's really cool to have him here kind of learning the process with us. Now, all of these spinach are growing, and it's basically going to create an area that it'll mat around all of these plants and kind of insulate them. And it helps keep the ground nice and moist. It really does help build up the soil and keep the water from just evaporating off the plants, because it gets so hot here, even during the fall, that the water just doesn't stick. It just puddles on top of the soil and runs off. But with plants around, especially the low-lying shrubby plants, they just kind of help catch all the water in the soil and bring that water from the surface down below. So I've noticed, like, the closer that I plant spinach and lettuce and all of these plants together, the better that they do, and the better the soil does at retaining water. And every time I think like, oh, well, the plants aren't getting enough water, I pull them out at the end of the season and the soil is nice and moist underneath where all of those plants were. So that really is teaching me a lot about soil health, water retention, and just what plants do to help benefit that soil and help prevent erosion and help just keep everything nice and healthy. And they break down and they give back. And I think that's a really cool lesson to learn and kind of see just how everything works together, and that the soil is a living biome, and I'm just so blessed to have had the opportunity to learn and create a living soil. And I hope that other people get the chance to learn that as well, because it really does make a big difference.